This is the Art and Business of Writing podcast. Nathan Chan is the publisher and editor of Foundr Magazine, a digital magazine for young entrepreneurs on the App Store and Google Play Store. Nathan launched Foundr in March of 2013 from his bedroom. In a small period of time, it has become a top 10 ranked business and investment magazine on the App Store. As publisher of Foundr, Nathan was a finalist for Publisher of the Year in 2014 in the Digital Magazine Awards. He has had the pleasure of interviewing some of the most accomplished entrepreneurs around the world, namely Sir Richard Branson and Arianna Huffington, and much more. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm just honored to have you as a guest. A big fan. I really enjoy your podcast. You add so much value, so thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome, my man. Absolute pleasure.
So let's turn back the clock a little bit. Can you take us beyond the bio and tell us a little bit more about your background and what you do at Foundr? And then just, take us just beyond 2013 to when you were working your corporate job and you had the idea of Foundr. And then let's go from inception to execution. Can you kind of walk us through that whole journey?
Yeah, sure thing. So I started Foundr. I launched March 5th, 2013. And the first day we launched, I made $5, and we had 2 subscribers to the magazine. So Foundr's a digital publication on the App Store and the Google Play Store, and it's around entrepreneurship. And what I'm trying to do with it, and it's the idea has evolved a lot more since I started 2.5 years ago. But the simple format is that it was just a digital magazine targeting young, aspiring, early-stage startup founders and novice entrepreneurs, because I identified that there was not a magazine in the space that really spoke to people that had never started a business before, or that were just starting a business. I felt that the kind of content that was being produced was not reflective of what majority of people want to read. I felt that majority of the business magazines out there were a little bit elitist, and I felt that there was a need to be serviced. And I knew that podcasts were really hot. I knew this interview thing was really hot. So I knew I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship, and I wanted to. So I thought, what better way to learn what it takes to become a successful entrepreneur than just to, interview successful entrepreneurs, run this magazine, have a bit of fun, because I was trying to get a job in marketing. So have a bit of fun marketing the product, and just showcase my findings, man. And that idea, fast forward to now, has turned into a multifaceted platform, as you mentioned. We have a rocking podcast. We have rocking social channels. We have a rocking blog, and we're starting to move into creating these epic video courses to further serve our community. And we've got a ton more of things in the pipe works, but the core ethos and the core mission and drive hasn't changed since day one, and it's simply to just equip entrepreneurs. And I think what we do to really differentiate ourselves is with the magazine, we're able to get in touch with really hard to reach people. And like you mentioned, we interview some crazy hard to reach, super successful founders like Seth Godin, Tim Ferriss, Richard Branson, Arianna Huffington, Damon John. List goes on, and we've got so many more hard to reach people coming, and amazing insights to share from these interviews. And just we're pretty much a content powerhouse, dude. Just trying to provide as much value as we can and serve as many people as we can.
That's awesome, man. Now, how did you decide to go into the digital publishing space with a magazine as opposed to maybe just creating a blog for entrepreneurship?
Well, I kind of just fell into it, to be honest, Chris. But there was a strategy there that I didn't. I definitely wanted to differentiate myself, and I'd never published a magazine before. And yeah, I'll be very clear and transparent. I started Foundr while I was working my full time job, and it took me a year to build it up. And like, I knew that podcast really hot, like I said, and I knew that if I wanted to stand out, there was a few different things I needed to do, and I just kind of just fell into it, really, dude. Like, the day that we made that $5, that was like the day that things really changed, because it was like, okay, we've got subscribers now. I've got to be committing to providing an epic magazine issue every month. Now let's get to work. And ever since that day, we haven't missed a publishing schedule. We've always shipped the middle of every month, and yeah, I think that consistency has forced us to continually innovate and continually challenge the status quo and norm of what Foundr really is, and how we can further spread our message and the idea behind it all.
Right. Now, you mentioned that you were working your full time day job while you were building Foundr. How did you arrange your schedule in such a way to give you the most opportunity to be successful in building it while still managing, kind of your daily life?
Just cold hard sweat and hustle, bro.
All right.
um, I think there's no other way to put it. I think if you want it bad enough, you can make it work. And I believe that to be true more than ever, because, the amount of progress that we've taken the business, since I left my day job is astronomical compared to when I was working in my day job. So obviously now I'm working on it full time. We have a much bigger team and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. And, we have, more revenue and more money to invest in the business and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's all about the hustle, man. Like, if you want it bad enough, you'll make it work. And you will do interviews during your lunch break, or at 5 a.m. before you go to work, or when you come home from work, and you work till 3 a.m. and then wake up at 7 to go to the office. Like, it is just how it's got to be. I think, if you want to build anything, like while you're working your day job and you want to do it the way I did it, yeah, you just got to do it when you're not working your day job.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing I definitely admire about you. When I was listening to your Seth Godin episode, you're like, you shot Seth an email and it's like, let's do it at this time. And I think you said it was like, what, 3 or 4 in the morning at your time. It was like some ridiculous hour. And you were like, I got to get up and do it anyway.
Oh no, I'll be very clear and transparent. It was like a Friday night that I messaged Seth just before I went to bed at like 11:30, and then I woke up at 7 and I got an email from Seth at 6 saying I can do it in 2 hours if you're ready. And yeah, I was just like to my girlfriend, like, I'm sorry, babe, but this guy's like my hero, my idol. I'm gonna have to do this interview. And yeah, just smashed it out. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, not prepared, nothing. Just, yeah, knew his work so well. So yeah, and I'd left my day job by then. Like, that I left my day job well over a year ago now. So yeah, it took about a year to build it up. So I've been doing it solo for at least 14 months at least. So yeah, hope that brings some clarity for you, man.
Yeah, yeah, no, I just, like I said, when you talk about the hustle, that's the one thing I was like, that really stood out for me when I was listening to your podcast was like, that whole Seth Godin thing. You're like, oh man, I gotta do this on the fly, and you just didn't think about it. You got it done, and it was a great interview. I loved it.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Now, okay, so let's talk about that year that you were building. Like, what were the steps you had to take to execute it? Like, I mean, you had to develop a website, you had to create content, which means you had to reach out to designers and content creators, and you had to manage all those moving parts. Can you talk about that year a little bit for us?
Yeah, sure, Chris.
Okay.
So I think my only focus during that whole year was around making sure that we shipped the magazine every month. Everything else was forgotten about. Like, not forgotten about, but could be put to the side. Our only mission, our only focus was to make sure at the middle of every month we published a magazine issue. And I got very good at shipping. I got very good at organizing my time because if I didn't, uh, you know, wouldn't be able to produce the magazine every month while I was working my day job. So that was my one and only focus, Chris, because I knew that the more issues I published, the more trust I would build with if even somebody just downloaded the magazine for free and they didn't subscribe straight away, because because I think it's very rich to ask someone to pay for a magazine they never heard of before, especially around the fact that you know they only had a couple. This person, or not this person, but Foundr only had a couple of issues in the store. So, like, if you subscribe, how do you know that you're going to get a magazine issue? So I knew that the more issues that I produced, they were like assets, man. And I was just building up that asset database. Just like right now, we're at issue number 31. Just building up those assets, man. Just building them up. Like, we've got so much content, and we can use or repurpose, or we can do so much with all of that content. We've got like 150 plus interviews. It's like hundreds of hours of content. So that was my only focus. And I think that held me in good stead, Chris, because that for that whole time, that was my only focus to build up the magazine to, I guess, obviously, we kept our costs low. We bootstrap like we're fully self-funded and it's bootstrapped from the ground up, and we outsource to leverage currency and exchange rates, and we find key talent overseas, which allows for lower operating costs than most. But I just got really, really focused on just that shipping piece. um, I guess in the first year, yeah, look, we had to find a designer to design the magazine. The website was very, very basic. I remember I paid a guy like literally like $50 to $100 to set it up, and I just gave him a WordPress template that I'd bought, and it was really crappy, and it was just a simple one pager. It was a slider, and it was horrible, man. And we had that same website for a very long time, for at least a good year, before I met my our web designer Aaron, and we teamed up and worked together and created what you see today as the Foundr website. And we actually had a blog, and we actually had a podcast, and we only launched the podcast in November. So I've just kind of been building like a house, man. And the first year was just laying the foundations. Right now we're really starting to extend on the rooms. The house is built. Now we're just adding extensions and adding more rooms, and expanding. So yeah, look, you had to build a very, very lean team with writers and also a designer, and just had to get savvy around organizing my time and building that shipping muscle.
I love that. And you keep saying the word shipping, shipping, which to me indicates that you're just trying to get it done. You're not trying to be perfect about it. Like, how important is that just to get it done?
It's everything. I think I think so many people there's that phrase, um analysis causes paralysis or something like that. And I think it's so true, especially amongst entrepreneurs, and I still go through it. We had an Instagram course that we recently launched, version 2.0. We launched the first version of that course. uh launched the first version of that course earlier this year, and it was a beta version, and then to release this version 2.0, the full course. I was procrastinating with it, and it took me longer to launch than I'd planned, and I had this wanted to make it perfect. But there's a certain point, where you can do it right, and you can ship crap, or you can do it well, and it's not perfect, but it's good enough that you're proud of, and it's good enough that's providing still ridiculous amounts of value in the marketplace. And it's a thin line, a fine line you have to tread between. But I think the more you get into the habit of shipping things, the more you get into the habit of producing great content, great, valuable, I guess, producing value, and to, how do you say this? I think I think the more and more you get uh, familiar with what it means to create value in your marketplace or within your niche, the more and more you can get better at shipping faster and moving things, and the more you can identify when something is ready to be shipped. So this whole time, if you want to get technical around the podcast, around the blog posts, and around the magazine issues, technically, dude, I've shipped like thousands of things, like thousands of, like, they could be sold as products. Like, every interview could be sold. Like, people do sell their interviews. Every magazine issue is sold. Every blog post, if you compile that together, that could be turned into an ebook. So you see what I'm saying? Like,
Oh yeah.
I've built up this habit, and this, I guess, level of insight that I know what is valuable to our community and what is good enough that we're proud of, that is of a very high standard. Still, it's not perfect, but it gets the job done. And uh, I don't like the word, sorry, not gets the job done, but it's providing a ton of value, and it's ready to launch. Because, yeah, if you want to get technical, man, we've technically shipped like thousands of assets. So just betting on the craft, man.
Nice. Like I said, I love that. Just that concept of just shipping things and moving products down the line and just adding value with the work and not being caught in the details or being obsessed over whether it's perfect or whether it's not. Because I know that's a big challenge for a lot of people. A lot of people want to launch something, but they want it to be so perfect, and it ends up pushing back the launch and pushing back the launch. So I mean, I definitely admire that about you.
Oh, well, thank you, bro. I think it's something that I've never been good at, like, with as a gift, or as given. This was something that I inherently trained up in myself,
Right.
but I didn't even know that I was doing it. It was just purely because I was forced to, because of the magazine, and me as a person. I don't like to let people down. So, that's actually a weakness of mine, but that weakness has been used as a strength because I didn't want to people paying for something that they weren't receiving. So I was forced to ship every single month, man.
Wow.
And yeah, that's really built that momentum.
Now you talked about just having thousands of pieces of content. Like, just in a given month, how much content are you producing for both Foundr Magazine and even for your website?
Hmm.
Approximately.
Look, when I said thousands, like, I meant like you could break each piece of content down. But you have to remember we package things up too. So I can tell you this much, Chris. We produce 4 epic articles a month, so one a week for the Founder blog. We do 4 podcasts, one a week. Obviously, we syndicate that across the podcast stores and channels, but we post on our blog too. So that's 8 pieces just on the Foundr website. Plus, we have a couple of guest posts that come through, depending on. And then we obviously ship the magazine. And then in terms of content as well, we do a lot of content through social, whether that's, images, you name it. So we produce a lot of content. So, yeah, look, probably, geez, hard to say, man, but I'd say at least 10 to 12, like, articles, pieces of content for the blog a month, and then we've got the magazine. Plus, we're working on other products now. So, yeah, and then we've always got, like, creative and artwork stuff for our social channels. So, yeah, look, a lot. Yeah, and it's only going to get more. Like, to be honest, dude, I'm probably, like, we do, like, quite a few guest blog posts too. Like, at least we try and do at least 2 to 3 a month on high authority sites. I've only just started doing that these past couple of months, but then also, like, I'm gonna really, really ramp things up and try and do at least match what we're doing for Foundr. So if we're producing 8 pieces of content a month on the Foundr site, I want to be doing 8 pieces of content on high traffic authoritative websites too. And I'm just teeing up a whole ton of people to help me with that. So yeah, look, we produce a lot of content, but that does drive a lot of traffic.
Wow, that's phenomenal. That is
Yeah, but look,
phenomenal.
it just comes down, and this is something that Neil Patel taught me very, very early on. And the reason he produces so much content is because he can afford to. Like, he just pays people to do it. So, I couldn't do that in the early days, man. But now, like, we're doing okay. I can afford to pay to produce ridiculous amounts of content now. And we have a team. So, if you're a solopreneur listening to this and you don't have a team, uh, you don't have to produce that much content to get traction. But for us, that's our game. We're a content powerhouse.
So how do you build your editorial calendar for your magazine? Like, do you theme it out, or how do you do that? How do you go about it?
We shoot from the hip, and at the start of the year, we start pitching. I'm actually starting to pitch for 2016 now. We've got up until March filled, and I'm going to pitch more soon, because with some of these hard to reach people that we feature, there's a lead time of at least 6 months sometimes. So you have to be super organized, man, and you have to get all your ducks in the row, and you have to queue it all up, like literally schedule it all up very, very far in advance. And then I pitch for the front covers first, and then from those front covers, I pitch for features, and then from those features, I match it all up to see if we can theme it. We don't always theme it, just depends. The issue that's going out probably today or tomorrow is the September issue with Tony Robbins, and it's focused around money. We speak to him about it around his latest book. He's on the front cover, and then we speak to another guy called Kabir Segal, who talks about the history of money, and so we have themed it, but we don't always, and just kind of work our way backwards. So uh, I anticipate by the end of this year we'll have the whole editorial calendar of 2016 filled, and maybe not the features, but definitely the covers, because the covers are the hardest to lock in, because you're going to put generally 99 95% of the time you're going to put a recognizable person, or a big influencer in the entrepreneurship space, or whatever niche you're in. And that's how we're doing it.
Yeah, and I'd like to actually talk to you about that a little bit. You managed to get Sir Richard Branson on your cover in issue 8 really early in the game, and it seemed to give you a shot of adrenaline, because as I looked through some of your stuff on the site, you got Chris Ducker, Mari Smith, Chris Brogan, Deepak Chopra, Arianna Huffington. Like, how did you convince Sir Richard Branson to grace the cover of a relatively new magazine, and then how did it snowball into what it is now?
So I'll be very clear. When I pitched to get Richard Branson on the front cover, it was it was for a Skype interview, but they only agreed to an email Q&A, and I worked with his PR team. So it was pretty simple, man. Like, I just asked his PR team. I tracked down his head of PR. I found the right person, and I asked, and I played on the fact that his first business venture was a student magazine. And then, yeah, dude, I just took it from there, and they said yes. And I worked with his team to come up with a cover and stuff, and they gave us the images, and we just kind of, that's been a massive springboard for the success of the brand. And I've leveraged that like anyone,
Right.
like, and I'm happy to admit that, everywhere you see, you will see, we, that we have featured Sir Richard Branson, because that gives us the ultimate social proof, man, that we are legit. That gives us the ultimate social proof that we're a trusted source. That gives us the ultimate social proof that, if Richard Branson's going to come on these guys' magazine, they must be legit. They must be providing valuable content. And it allows us to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace, like which comes back to your first, your first, one of the early stage questions you asked me. All these little things that we're doing allows us to position ourselves differently, position ourselves in such a way that people will take notice. And in a noisy world, it allows us to be heard. So each of these unique things that we're doing builds up a picture, builds up a story in anybody that comes into contact with our brand. You know what I mean?
I do.
So yeah, so with that, that Richard Branson issue, we've used that as leverage to get more interviews with hard to reach people and big time influencers in the entrepreneurial space. And then we'll use that as a springboard to even get more readers of the magazine, and then, more people into our community because they're like, oh, well, these guys have interviewed Richard Branson. Then we can use that story as well. Like I tell that story in, if someone signs up to our newsletter in in our like indoctrination where we teach people what Foundr is, what it's all about. Like I share that, and we even gave that issue away for free, and still to this day it's a lead magnet that we use. When you first come onto the front, if you first come onto the Foundr website, you go foundrmag.com, you can access the Richard Branson issue. It's like, get your free issue now. Get the free Richard Branson issue, or even on our podcast, we tell people go foundrmag.com/Branson to get the free issue. So we've leveraged that pretty heavily, and it works, dude. And I never realized it until recently. It's kind of like influencer marketing, or using ambassadors for your brand to position yourself. Have you heard of Shreds?
No, I haven't.
Ah, okay. Those guys are like big on Instagram. It's like some sort of protein powders or something. I don't use their products by any means, but we do a lot of stuff on Instagram, and so do Shreds. So Shreds has used Instagram kind of like how we have to really put their brand on the map, and like they have all these ambassadors. They have like all these like female or male fitness models that have like 1 million followers or 500,000 followers. They make them ambassadors for Shreds, and that allows Shreds to position themselves as an influencer because they're working with other influencers. And yeah, that's essentially how you become an influencer in your market. You just have to align yourself with enough influencers. So I highly recommend for anyone that's listening to this to, here's an action item for you. Come up with a list of the who's who in your zoo, as one of my mentors, Ed Dale, taught me. Who's the who in the zoo, in your niche or your market, and try to work out a way where you can align your brand with them. And eventually, if you can align yourself with like even 50% of those people, and for us it's interview them, get them on the magazine or whatever, you yourself in turn will become an influencer. If all the other influencers start to know who you are, that's when you actually become an influencer. And it's the long game, dude. It takes a long time. Like this definitely doesn't happen overnight. It's been a lot of hustle, been on the craft, you name it. But yeah, we're just chipping away at it bit by bit, and slowly more and more people are starting to find us.
Dude, that's awesome. Like, I like how you talked about really just aligning yourself with a brand. I got a chuckle out of that when Damon was on your podcast, and he talked about how he had like 10 shirts, but he would go to all these rap videos and kind of spread the shirt around,
Yeah,
and
right.
but it worked for him. Just the same as you say, the Branson covers worked for you. So I really love that piece of advice, and I thank you for kind of sharing an action item, because I think it's very important for people to listen to these podcasts, not only just to get inspired, but also just to take an action, the same day or the next day, because it's very important.
Yeah, that's right, man.
Now, how are you, what are methods that you've used to contact people? Are you looking up their addresses, going to their sites, catching them on Twitter? Like, can you offer just a couple of ways that you've used to catch influencers?
Yeah, sure thing, man. So pretty much, Chris, like I get asked this question quite often, to be honest. So we're going to create this epic guide. Like our content crafter, Jonathan, He's working on it right now. He's said it's going to be at least 5,000 words, and it's going to be the definitive guide on how to get interviews. And I'm going to share everything, like you name it. I'm not holding back. There are all my secrets and everything. I probably could turn into a paid course or whatever. Um, but I'm just going to make it an epic authority type blog post. And I want it to be the blog post that anyone that does interviews or wants to get in touch with hard to reach people, they will use this as a point of reference. Just like how, Tim Ferriss, he has like the ultimate guide to crowdfunding or the ultimate guide to getting a book deal. Just like, these definitive type or blog posts that are just like an essay. That's what we're doing for this exact topic, because I think we're well positioned to share on this. And so I will say to anyone listening to this, make sure you sign up to our newsletter. You can sign up if you go to foundrmag.com, and you'll be able to be notified when this blog post goes live. It's going to go live in a couple of weeks. So pretty much the tools that I could recommend is maybe check out Email Hunter. That's pretty cool. It's just a collection. You can type in a company's brand or domain or whatever, and you can pull up all their email addresses that are public. And most of these people, their email addresses are public. Another thing you can do is go to who.is, and you can, like, so when you have to register your domain, like for us, for example, we registered the domain foundrmag.com and Foundr Magazine. What you can do is you have to have like there has to be a registrant email and a registrant address for that domain. You can cloak that and shadow that of your details of who owns the domain, or you don't have to, and it's public knowledge. And a lot of people actually don't spend the extra $10 a month or $10 a year to protect their information of who owns the domain and their details. So if you run like a who.is search, you can find that person's email, and that's going to be a good email because that's the email that person gets if their domain's going to expire soon. So that's a good little trick there. And then, you can use tactics like that. But I think for the most part, Chris, I think the biggest thing I want your audience to take away is you're only going to get this person's time and attention if there's a mutually beneficial exchange in value. If you cannot communicate that and you cannot deliver that, it ain't going to happen.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. Now, Nathan, if you don't mind, can we delve into the numbers a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I don't share income.
I don't need like the income, not the hard fast, but really just how to develop the income from developing an online magazine. So basically,
sure.
like how did you develop your subscription plan? Because I saw that you've got a multifaceted subscription plan. How did you come up with that?
Just winged it, bro.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes that's what you do, right?
Yeah, man. Like, it's so funny, Like, I've been going on a lot of podcasts lately, because the word's starting to spread around our work, which is great. And sometimes people ask these questions, and it's like it's like we know what's going on, and we're like super calculated, and it's like there's a reason for everything. Some things that we do, and I think you'll find that with most like entrepreneurs. I don't know. I found that like even from maybe when I interview entrepreneurs, they're not as real as I'm being with you. But yeah, dude, like literally, I just came up with that pricing model because I saw that's what some other business magazines were doing, and then I kind of like upped the price, like silently, for the one-off issue purchase. So it went from $3.99 to $4.99, and then that allowed me to raise the perceived value for the back issue packs, or or the amount of percentage you save off if you buy a package. So that's literally all I've played around with. I've never increased the price of the magazine. I probably should. I probably should test it. But you know what, Chris? To be honest with you, as I said, the magazine's only one piece of the puzzle now. It's the face of our business. It's the front end of our business, and it's ticking along really nicely. But I don't have a massive attention to growing it. I have a massive attention to growing our reach, and we can do that through other channels. And I have a massive attention to build up our back end, building a product suite, and working out how we can further serve our audience in many other ways through other video courses and stuff like that. And that is a big focus of mine now. Don't get me wrong. We do push the magazine. We certainly believe in it, and it's the face of our business, and there's a lot of value there. However, from a revenue generating standpoint, I think the magazine's just the first piece of the puzzle. So if somebody wants to find out a little bit more about us, the magazine isn't the only way we can serve. So right now I have a focus on building up the back end. Obviously, we're still producing the magazine. We will produce it forever, and it is the face of the business, and it's what is our core product. But I have a focus on some other products right now.
Awesome. I know. I appreciate the authenticity, man. It makes it fun. Believe me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Look, that's just who I am.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, I've heard you. I've heard your podcast. I've heard you in other podcasts, and you're the same guy across the board. So it's all good.
Yeah, but that was funny, man.
Now you've built an app for your magazine. Now, can you talk about the decision, to create your own app versus running your issues through like Amazon or through Newsstand?
Yeah, so look, don't get me wrong, it is run through Newsstand.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. It is run through Newsstand, and as of, I think today or yesterday, iOS 9 cans the Newsstand, but there's still a section for magazines, and it just, you don't have that icon on your phone or your tablet. And yeah, it is exactly like, Foundr the magazine is published the same way as Fast Company, Forbes, all those guys. They publish their digital version. It's the exact same way. It's no different to any other publisher out there. I just want to be really clear around that, around the technical elements. Like, it's the exact same as any normal magazine that wants to go digital in the App Store and the Google Play Store. We do not publish on the web though, but I think that might change in the near future, man. We'll see how we go. I just don't know many people that read magazines on their computer. You
Yeah.
can't really take it with you. There's something cool about being able to take it with you everywhere you go on your phone or your tablet. I just can't imagine people even pulling out their laptop and reading a magazine.
No, I can't either.
Yeah, so I don't know. We do get a lot of requests, though, believe it or not, that people do want to view the PDFs and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see how things go. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Well, yeah. I just was wondering, kind of, the costs associated with using an app or creating an app. Like, if one of our listeners said, "Hey, I'd like to develop a digital app for a magazine or for whatever," is it an expensive process?
Yeah. So you have to use off-the-shelf publishing software. So that could be anywhere from, a recurring revenue-based cost. It's like, $50, $100 a month, or, one-off license fee where it's like $2,000, $3,000, or whatever. It's, $3,000 a year. The software I use is called Magcast. So all these guys, they all use software. You don't create it yourself. I'll be very, very clear on that. If you want to publish a digital magazine in the App Store, Google Play Store, you publish it with a third party off the shelf software, whether it's Maz, like Forbes, Fast Company Inc. They all use the software called Maz, and that's, I think, pretty expensive, probably a lot more expensive than what I use. And the software I use is called Magcast, and it was developed by an internet marketer and one of my mentors, Ed Dale. And those guys are really good. They know what's going on, and it's quite a robust platform. And yeah, at the time, that I purchased the license, it cost me $2,000, man. $2,000. I didn't have the money at the time. I put on my credit card, and yeah, kind of the rest is history. But yeah, that's how you do it. You got to use off-the-shelf publishing software, and yeah, that's it.
You're a true entrepreneur, man. Whatever it takes to get it done, right? Credit cards,
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, you name it,
Whatever
man.
it takes. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, can you give one piece of advice to anyone listening who may want to create a digital publication? Can you just give them some sort of encouragement, something that that got you through maybe in those times when you felt like, man, should I keep going? What should I be doing now? Can you give them anything?
Yeah, I just want to say that creating a magazine, there's something so special about it, and that is, I don't know what, but people just have so much respect if you have a magazine. Just like kind of if you publish a book. So if you publish a book or you publish a magazine, there's just some sort of such a high level of authority and influence when you do that, as opposed to publishing a blog or a podcast. And I think because the barriers to entry is a little higher, but that it's only a perceived barrier to entry, Chris. So a lot of people might think it's really hard to publish a magazine or a book, but now with technology, it's not that hard at all, but there's still that perceived value in society. So if you want to publish a magazine, I think it's a great way to fast track your influence and fast track the impact that you can make in your niche or market.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And now, how can our listeners connect with you, Nathan?
Best place to find us is on our website. So if you go to foundrmag.com, FOUND mag.com, it's without the E. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and just for all of our listeners out there, be sure to check out Nathan on the Foundr podcast, which is also available on iTunes and Stitcher. Nathan, it has been my real pleasure to interview you today.
Oh, you're welcome, Chris. I hope we got a ton of gold for the audience, man.
Oh, we definitely did, and best to you.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
Wow, what an inspiring episode. If you weren't able to take notes, I've got you covered. Visit my website at www.chrisjonesink.com/podcast to get today's show notes as well as access other episodes you may have missed. Be sure to subscribe and rate the podcast on iTunes. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time.